In this problem, you solved it and graphed it correctly as far as each individual interval goes, but you didn't know how to combine them. You didn't know if it was going to include everything in both sets or just the things that overlapped. So in the case of OR, it includes everything in both sets. The correct answer is negative infinity to infinity, because when you combine everything in this set, which goes from negative infinity, and everything in this set which goes to infinity, then that's what you get. And so of course your answer graph is going to be this, from negative infinity to infinity. Interestingly, you answered negative infinity to infinity for your interval, but you put it in brackets on the computer, so you got that incorrect, but you did get the graph correct. In this problem, while you were working it, you just made an error, and here was your error. You said this broke down to 3y plus 12 equals 12, or 3y plus 12 equals negative 12. So once you did that, instead of saying 3y plus 3, then you were doomed. So what I'm more interested in is that you answered that the solution set was going to be negative 4, 0. But that can't be correct because of this equal sign. So as an equal sign, your plot is actually going to look like this, and you're solving two things. You're solving, in your case, you solve this and this. So in one case, you would have y equals 0, and in the other case, you would have y equals, let's see, you had negative 24 divided by 3 should be negative 8. So make this negative 8. Okay, and you actually did have negative 8, 0. I changed the problem a little. So you have y equals 0. Here's y equals 0. And you have y equals negative 8. You don't have an interval where y is less than 0 or greater than negative 8 or anything like that. You just have two discrete points. So you can't have an interval in your answer. You just have the 2 points. You have negative 8 and 0, and it doesn't matter what order they are in, but they have to be in brackets like that, showing that it's a solution set, not an interval. So to clarify, I did not solve this problem because you did not solve this problem. I solved the problem you solved in order to show you that you still made a mistake here. This is not an interval, so this is incorrect. This is the way your graph should look and the way your interval should look. In this problem, you made a math error, so let's look at it. You did the first part right. You had 3 times 7 plus 12x plus 24 after distributing the negative 3 equals 13x plus 50. Then you said this was equal to 21 plus 36x plus, and then you didn't distribute the 3 to the 24, so you wrote 24. So obviously that's not correct, so let's write what is correct. Then we have 93 plus 36x equals 13x plus 50. And then let's see, you subtracted 93 from both sides, so you have 36x equals 13x minus, let's see, that would be 43. And then you what did you do next? Okay, you divided, I'm not sure how you got this, but after you did that, you didn't get 43. What you got was you subtracted 93 from both sides, and you got 36x equals 36. Not sure what you did there. I think what you did is you actually got 36x equals negative 43. But that isn't correct. You eliminated the 13x for some reason. So now you have to add 13x, or subtract 13x from both sides, and that gives you 23x equals minus 43, and then you get x equals minus 43 over 23. So we have that x is a value, and since x is equal to a value, you get a conditional. And what your result was also that x equals a value. So you would have actually gotten this correct if in fact this problem that I put as the starting point was the same as theirs. The starting point that they had ended up with a number equals to the same number. For instance, it ended up, after you got rid of everything, negative 43 equals negative 43. This is just the similar to the problem they did, and so their answer would have been in that case an identity. So because you made math errors, you got the wrong answer, but once you got the wrong answer, you chose the correct name for the answer you got. In this problem, you again have a contained interval because it's less than, the distance is less than 7 units from 0. So your actual x value, you have to solve for that, but it's going to be a less than situation, so your interval will look like this. If you know that, then you will be on the right track to solving this correctly. Your answer was negative infinity to infinity. Yes, and again you use brackets, so here was your answer. And you should have used parentheses. Always use parentheses with infinities, but that isn't why you got it incorrect. You got it incorrect because a negative infinity to infinity situation represents not a less than or equal to, but a greater than or equal to, where the two graphs end up overlapping. So the negative infinity to infinity solution is incorrect. We'll go about solving this and finding out what numbers go here and here. In one case we have 9 minus 5x is less than or equal to 7. Also has to be true when you have a contained interval that 9 minus 5x is greater than or equal to negative 7. So we get negative 5x x is less than or equal to negative 2, making x greater than or equal to positive 2/5. And we have negative 5x is greater than or equal to negative 16, making x, I said less than, but it was greater than. Now, switching the sign, making x less than or equal to 16/5. So our two numbers are going to be 2/5 and 16/5. And the graph is going to be a contained interval that looks like this. And you found the 2/5 and the 16/5, but then you drew an interval. You wrote an interval that would be impossible, that would not exist, and that is, your answer was 2/5 to infinity. And again, you use bracket where you should have used parentheses, and then you had infinity or negative infinity to 16/5. So let's look at what that would graph as if we did take this as if it were an interval. Here's your 2/5 to infinity, and that graph looks like this. And that takes care of that interval. And then your other graph is going to be negative infinity to 16/5. So it will look like this. And when you combine the two graphs, which is an OR, which is what a union is, you get negative infinity to infinity. So the union that you incorrectly wrote is actually this one. Even if you had written it negative infinity to infinity, it would have been incorrect, because this less than or equal to sign means you're going to have a contained solution like this, and your interval, which I didn't write, let me go ahead and cross this out. So I just got rid of all that, and your correct interval would have been 2/5 to 16/5. Okay, that is the end of your review. So to summarize, you're having some confusion between how to handle and or, and you're having some problems envisioning absolute values as distances, so that you need to remember that if the distance, this is the distance, is less than a number, then it has to be inside those distances. And if it's greater than a number, it would be outside those distances. So if you can remember that, you'll get those intervals to be correct. And then as far as and or goes, this is an and situation where it only includes the solutions that are found in both intervals. The or situation includes everything in each of the intervals added together. So if you can get those things, I think you're ready to retake your test. There was only one error you made mathematically, so your basic skills are excellent. So once you feel confident that you can remember the things I just mentioned, then I believe you are ready to go take your test. Good luck.